Python is widely used by programmers to create software applications with a simple, clean, and understandable code base. They can even use a variety of Python integrated development environments to speed up the development of unique software applications. Pycharm is a cross platform created by JetBrains. Pycharm is compatible with Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. In addition to that, it supports Python versions 2x and 3x. At the same time, PyCharm's capabilities and features assist programmers in writing a variety of Python software applications swiftly and efficiently. So why wait? Let's have a quick introduction and walkthrough on PyCharm IDE in this video. If you haven't subscribed for our channel yet, I would request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification bell so that you don't miss any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure you comment on this video. Any queries or suggestions, I'll be more than happy to respond to all of them. Hello everybody, welcome to this video of Pycharm where we'll be learning how to efficiently work with Python programs in the IDE called Pycharm. So agenda of this particular video goes this way. So first we'll know why do we need IDE and what is the IDE, and next we'll be talking about different kinds of IDE which is available in Python. Next we'll see how to install Pycharm, and then we'll be having a walkthrough of the environment, like where you have to work with the programs, how do you have to install, how to debug, how to execute and other stuff. So apart from that, we also have different options present in IDE of Pycharm. So here we'll be dealing with Keymaps and Shortcuts, Omni and macros and micros, and many other elements. After that, we also be learning how to integrate and version control the IDE, plus the HTML and CSS part, right? So why wait? Let's start this video now.
Now, if we look into what is an IDE, as we were talking about a lot of Pycharm and also integrated development environment, now I will give you a brief what is this IDE stands for. An IDE is a software application or platform that provides an integrated environment to the programmers to develop, build, debug, package, and deploy codes in multiple languages. Now you will ask me what is actually developing a code, building a code, debug a code, and package and deploy codes, right? So yeah, if you are a software developer or if you are someone who actually into this software industry, you should know what is developing a code. Basically, when we write a code, we actually develop a code to, make our works done, right? So when we develop this code, we get some of the few problems. Suppose you make some mistakes or you get some errors. So in this case, if there is someone who is going to help you to say, hey, whatever you are writing, this is not right. Maybe you have a spelling mistake or maybe you have a indentation mistakes, right? So this is where IDE help us to do these courses and make our life easy. Now we will have a look at why do we need an IDE in a proper term. So suppose you are writing a code, testing a code and debugging a code. So first you write a code, right, to make your work done. After you write a code, your work is not done. You have to test it. You have to check your code is working properly or not. Now, if when you are going to test your code, if you get any error or if you get any output that is not required, that time you have to debug your code to make your code work properly. So in this case, you can do all these three things in one at a place. Don't you think it is really important to do that? Suppose you need to write a code somewhere, you need to test your code somewhere, and you need to debug your code somewhere. How it's painful for your code to do, right? So this is where we need IDE. Now comes to makes coding experience comfortable. Yes, obviously, when you actually have an assistant who is going to say, suppose you are writing a code and you have some spelling mistakes, it's going to give you an error. You can say, okay, there is someone who is going to help me to say, hey, don't make these mistakes, right? So this is how it's making coding experience comfortable. Now, if we talk about the text editor, right, in past, what we used to do, we used to write our code in the text editor like notebook, and then what we need to do, we need to go to our command line and then we need to execute that. Then if you have any error from there, you need to just find it out the line number and need to find it out what error you have, right? It's really pathetic and hectic to do that when you have 1,000 lines of code, right? So this is something is solved by the IDE. So this IDE is basically you will have the line number as well as you don't need to go to notebook and editor both, right? So this is how our IDE is making our life easy, and everything can be done in IDE that we already discussed about. So now if we actually want to look into the very specific part of IDE, then first thing is we can actually do the code analysis, right? Then graphical debugger, then unit tester you can do, and version control is also can be done using IDE. Then if we talk about the project management, right? So yeah, you can do the project management using IDE. Then comes the collaboration. If you want to do collaborate with few other codes, you can do easily in IDE. Then comes increased efficiency and resource management. So these are the key points you can say why do we need IDE. Now we will have a look at the different types of IDE we have in our, particularly for Python, right? So the first thing is we have Pycharm. So Python is one of the most popular IDE which is actually used by lots of companies and users to make their work done. Then we have Anaconda. This is basically for data science. If you are a data science enthusiast, then you should go for Anaconda. And lastly, we have Google Colab. This is last but not the least. There are lots of IDE also we have. This is the few example we have given over here. Then this Google Colab is basically from Google, which is basically for the AI researcher. If you are an AI researcher and you don't have a good computer or system to work with, then Google Colab is for you. Google gives lots of features to make your work done, right? So these different IDs we have. So let's have a look at what is Pycharm. Pycharm is one of the most famous integrated development environment, in short, which is known as IDE. For Python, developed by a CZ organization called JetBrains. So basically, JetBrains invented Pycharm. It's one of the most popular environment to do the Python coding. Now, if you just write Pycharm download, and from there you will get the first link over here, right? You just need to click on this link. If you click on this link, it will redirect to you for their official website to download Pycharm. You can see you have to download Pycharm. There is two particular version you have. One is professional, one is community. So basically, if you want to go for professional, you have to pay after few time. If you want to go for using this for your company, then we should actually go for professionals. Then we have another version that is for community. Community is basically for us, it's free and open source. You can see it's also mentioned over here. Now there are few operating system we have. We have Mac, we have Linux. So if you have Mac, you just need to click on this tab. Then there is some different exe file you need to download. So as I have Windows, I am going to download it. So you just have to click on download. It will automatically start downloading, right? Thank you for downloading, but I just need to pause it because I have already downloaded Pycharm. Actually, a download python.exe file, you have to click on that. It will automatically start installing it. There is no other you will not need to do lots of things to do that. It's automatically will start taking the download. So as you can see, we have done this installing process. So let me show you. So you can see there is automatically a actual icon is there. I just need to click on this icon, then it will automatically start basically opening this particular software. So let me just do that. It will take few time to get started. So I will show you what are the things we have in this particular IDE, right? How can you make your new project? How can you make your first Python file, and how can you run them? So you can see it started to get it's this Pycharm is basically taking few times to get start with, right? So this is the interface we are going to get for Pycharm. How can you start with making your new project, right? So in this case, you can see this is the whole interface we have for Pycharm. Now, if I want to click on file, and now, okay, if I click on new project, right, it will ask me for the new project. It will basically going to make a new environment for me. So now there are few things we need to talk about. Now you have to give the project name. Suppose I am going to give a project name, Python demo 2 or 1, right? So I have given the project name. Now you can see this is the Python interpreter. This is new virtual uh, environment. Now they have two options. One is new environment. Using this you have to make your new environment, otherwise the previously configured interpreter. Now you will ask me, what is the difference between new environment and the previously configured interpreter? Now, there are few differences we are going to talk about. In this case, you can see if you make a new environment for your project, this is basically going to give you a new specific environment for your this specific demo, right? For this specific project. So whatever the package you are going to install, whatever the thing you are going to do, that is very specifically for this particular project. Now, if we do the previously configured interpreter, it will basically, if you have done any project earlier, it will take that interpreter. So if you're gonna change anything on that interpreter, it will affect this particular project as well. So suppose if you want to make a project where you just need to make few packages and you need to make a total new environment for it, so then I should suggest you to go for making a new environment, right? So now if you look over here, that the base interpreter, so your base interpreter will be Python 3.8, right? In this case, if you just go and previously configured interpreter, then you will get few options. Let me just show you the interpreter. No, I am not getting any option, but there are, if you have Anaconda in your system, you will get that. If you have Python in your system, you will get that. Whatever the thing you want to select, you can select for previously configured interpreter. As I don't make any configuration previously, that's why I need to make a new environment, right? After that, I just need to click on create. Then it will give me a pop-up basically to asking me if you want this making a project in this particular window or a new window, right? So for my case, I want to make it in a new window, right? So basically it's going to make a new creating virtual environment for my new project Python demo 1. So it will take few minutes to get loaded. So let's see how we can start our first project using Python and how can we actually execute them. You can see we have got our environment, the total new environment for this particular project. Now we have in default main.py file, right? So now if you want to make a new Python file, you have to go to your project, then click over here. You will get an option for, okay. Right. So you will get an option for what new you want to make. I want to make a new Python file. I need to click over here. After I click over here, I need to give a name for this. Now I want to give a name for demo file 1, right? So this will be my new file. So now as we can see, we got it, right? So now I'm going to write print. Then I'm going to write, hey, welcome to great learning, right? So now what I need to do, I need to execute it. How to execute it? For that, if you want to save something, you have an option called save as, right? You can save as well. And you also can have an option of save all, right? Control is in the basically the shortcut for that. Now, if I just need to execute it, what I need to do, I just need to execute what? For executing this, you have this particular as well, this run main. This is basically for running the main file you have, right? So this is something you will get this particular symbol to run something. Now if you go here and if you just click over here, you will get an option for run demo file 1 as well. So if I just run this run demo file 1, what I get, hey, welcome to great learning, right? So this is how you can start working with Pycharm.
Now, in this part, let's learn regarding understanding the basics of IDE. So first we have to start with creating and how to open the particular file or project in IDE. After that, we'll know how to version control, like what is the present version which we are using for this particular IDE and what is the feature of those. After that, we'll be learning how to configure the IDE. Configuring is nothing but where the files has to be placed and where it has to go and how the IDE should execute. So that's about understanding the basics of IDE. And quickly we shall see how does a Pycharm IDE looks like. This is how Python Pycharm IDE looks like. So here you can see you have various options, and first of all it is having welcome screen here. You can directly launch a project here or open any existing Python file. Then you also have how to create a version control is also here. You can get the version control. This is what I was speaking about. So you can know how to create and open the file, also get version of this particular IDE. So if I quickly click on get version, so this is how it looks like. Either you can integrate that with github, I mean to say. Apart from that, it is mercurial and subversion. So you have three different options in order to version control, and you can also launch your github url here, so that it is both, it is in coordination, local drive as well as the github account. So that's about the understanding basics of Pycharm IDE. Now we shall see Keymaps and Shortcuts. First, we shall learn what is keymap in Pycharm. So Pycharm supports many keymaps. That means what are the different frequently used editors shortcuts will be displayed, or the commands will be displayed in keymaps. So what is the shortcut you have in order to access that? It's you have to go to help and then go to keymap reference. So let's quickly see how does keymap reference look like in Pycharm. This is how Pycharm IDE looks like. Now we have to see how to have the key reference. So we have to go to help and we have to have the key map reference here. If you click on this key map reference, we'll be finding a sheet, right, opening in our browsers, which is showing you all the shortcuts, right, whatever the user is using or the creator is using. It's been listed here. So if it is quick enough to access the shortcuts rather than going up to the menu and finding the sub menus and stuff, you can directly note down the shortcuts which you are using frequently and try using this key map references. Now we shall learn regarding Omni. So it is a feature in Pycharm where we use in order to navigate between location to location, classes to classes, or project directories to project directories. It acts as a quick access to the projects or the classes which have declared in the code, right? So let's quickly see what are the different elements you have in Omni. So Omni has functionality. One main thing you have to know, the features of Omni is described in navigation menu. In navigation menu, you can find the options which is available, which is categorized to be Omni functionality. Okay, so the first thing which you can see there is class, right? So class helps you to easily move between the classes which you use in the code. Say for example, it is a big project and you have numerous of classes, right? So all these classes will be in one particular code you can quickly access by using Omni and the class option in that. So the next one you have is back and then forward. It is very simple. If you want to access back option, then it is Control Alt left. If it is a forward option, that is Control Alt right. That means it will return into the previous state where the code was. If it is back, if it is forward, then it will try to go to the next state, right? So that's about the Omni functionality. Let's quickly check on the IDE how this functionality work. Now you can see navigation button here, that is navigate, right? If you click on that, you will get first option as the back. If you want to go to the back, you can also use Control Alt left. If not, you can also have forward option, which is disabled because we don't have anything on the platform here, that is why. Then I spoke about class. If you want to access class here, you can also use this option. So this is how Omni will work. In return, it is like we are having shortcuts to many of the menus. Mainly we'll be using back, forward and class. Now we shall see macros and micros in Pycharm. So before knowing macros, we shall learn what is difference between the Omni and the macros first of all. So Omni is a feature where we can go to the specific location, specific folder, specific class where we'll be getting our results. But in micros, we'll also reach that particular class where we want to reach, but we'll go through all the functions in between. It is not directly we are going to that particular location we want to go. Either it might be a class or it might be a code, right? So let's quickly check upon what are the different macros we have, right? So generally we have navigate macro. That is the main menu which I can tell you, right? In navigate, we can go for declaration, where you can also see different types of declaration which you have made in your code. Also, what is the type of the declaration as well, and super methods which you are using. Any methods and functions which you are using is displayed there. Apart from that, you have one more element you have to look into. That is search everywhere. So you can search, discover any class, any associated method by using this option, right? So you can also search via Google. So let's quickly see in Pycharm IDE how does this macros and micros work. Now you have to locate the navigate menu. So if you go there, first you have to look into the declarations or uses, right? You have declaration or uses, and then you have implementations, you have which type of declaration, you have super method. So all the access has been declared with shortcuts, right? If you want, you can remember the shortcuts as well. So apart from that, you had an option called search everywhere. That means anything you are missing, you can't remember, it is not listed. If you know the name, you can quickly type. For example, it might be a view, right? So you have different viewing options, viewing methods, view breakpoints. So all the elements are present in this particular menu, and you can search just like you search in Google, right? That is how the macros will work in this particular Pycharm IDE. Next, we shall learn regarding micros. So micros are used in order to locate specific location within a file. Inside a file, if you want to find any of the class or the code, specific functions or methods, you can use micros. The majority of the development process will be using this particular tool itself, because it is very quick to access. It will be having the hierarchy of menus, a main menu, sub menu, again you'll be having a sub menu. So that is how micros will work. So next, you have an option called from the source or select open file in this micros. Right here, it will allow you to scroll between the chosen source. That means whichever the code file which is open, right, that particular code file will be located by using select open file. Whichever we open, that will be located. The next, you have expand all. As you all know, expansion is nothing but if you click on that menu, all the sub menus will be shown to you. If not, if you want to close it, you can call it as collapse all. It will collapse all the submenus or directories which has been shown on the Pycharm IDE. Apart from that, you also have show option menu. That means it will show the different menu structure in the panel, right? In the project panel, if you have a main function, it is having a main folder in that. Apart from that, you have many other files. It will also be listed there. Let's quickly see how does these four will work in Pycharm IDE. This is an IDE. These are the four options which I was talking about, right? So the first one which you can see is select open file. If you click on that, this is the file which is open right now, where the program is adding two numbers. It is being named as main.py. So which is open is shown here. The menu is called select open file. Then you have expand all. If you want to expand, these are the only elements we have to expand in this particular project. So it is in expansion mode. If you want to collapse all, you can click on that. It will collapse the folder. Again, I'll show the difference between expand and collapse. I'm clicking on expand. So only one particular file is there, that is main.py, that has been shown. Again, I collapse this. Yes, it is collapsed. Next, you have one more option called show options menu. If you click on that, you will get lots of sub menus which you can use. If you want to move that to somewhere, if you want to view that, and if you want to resize, if you want to stretch to left, right, maximize the tool window, remove from sidebar. If you want to remove this menu itself, you can do all the additions and deletions you want as per the user requirement, as per the developer requirement. So this is about micros in Pycharm. Now we shall see how to improve and write code in Pycharm. So improvement is nothing but how do we indent our code. Whatever code we try to write, Python code might be, we write on Pycharm, that should be indented properly. It has to give the breaks between the classes you declare, between the methods you use, between the functions you use, and different declarations you make. If you don't have break, and if you just use a for loop or if loop without braces, or the indentations is not proper, it is very difficult for other programmer to continue whatever the code you have written and understand that particular code, right? So this is how you have to start having the improvement, and you have to write a proper code with a good practice, right?
So we shall see in Pycharm, it actually includes the standards, right? You have to have a Python program written in a place where it is indented, and if as soon as the person sees the particular code, he has to understand or she has to understand how this particular code works and what is the requirement it is serving, right? So the first thing you have to know is improve code completion. So code completion is an option which is there in Pycharm. Just like other IDEs, for example, Visual Studio, for example, they'll be having auto intelligence process. So what happens in auto intelligence? If you are writing certain code in the platform, it will try to give you all the options which is available for the code which you are writing. Say for example, if you start with if, it will show you the if statement, if else statement, if else if statement, every possible actions will be shown to you. It is your choice in order to choose which one it is adaptable, right? So it will give you the hints how you have to write the code. So that is improve code completion. If you want to access this, you can manually press Ctrl plus space bar, right, from the keyboard. Then you have intention action. That means it is showing you what are the different options you have. It will intend the specific action. If you are trying to do some debugging, how do you debug and what are the breakpoints you have and where is your cursor located, with where it is going in the program. So all the tracing will be used in this particular actions, right? So everything will be displayed to you. So now let's quickly see how does this code improvement can be done in Pycharm. In this IDE, let's see how can we improve the process, right? If you try to give Control plus space bar, so it will show you what are the different option it can give. If you want to start if statement, you can start. If you want to start a class, you can do it. If you want to go for, you can do it. Then importing anything, you can import. It will suggest you all possible elements which you can use in your code. So this is auto intelligence or improvement of the code. This is how Pycharm will suggest you to choose between the options. Now we shall see intention action. How does it provide, right? Now you have to press Alt Enter. If you try to press Alt Enter, it will say inject language or reference. For example, if it is a big code, it will show you what are the different elements you can add with, right? You can just click on this, it will show inject language or reference. If you want to proceed this code somewhere, you can click and it will also have certain options like edit intention settings or disable injection language or reference. So all these options are used. If it is a longer code, it will know where it has to break and how the program is executing. So this is how the actions are shown in injection, right? So that's about improving and writing code in Pycharm. Now we'll learn how does the Python console looks in Pycharm, right? So the option where you have to reach is first you have to go to tools and try to run the Python console, and it has a full featured Python terminal uploaded in Pycharm. Let's quickly check how does it look on Pycharm IDE. This is the IDE of Pycharm. So we have to go to tools and we have to click on Python or debug console, right? So I'm clicking on it. Here it is. Also, you can directly access from the below menu, but still this is the way to go. Tools, and again you have to choose Python or debug console, right? So now I'll try to put up a new file inside a project which I've created. So we have to click on new and select Python file. So name the Python file anything you wish for. So now it is sample. Once that is done, here I'm going to show the square root of a number. Same program which is finding a square root for any number entered by the user. So these are the lines of code you have to enter. First thing is enter a number where you'll be asking the end user to enter a number. Then you will calculate that with a square root variable where you have a operation mentioned, right? A formula mentioned. Then you will display the output accordingly. So let's quickly run this program. So before running, we have to debug, right? So go to run and then do the debug. So also you can use Alt Shift F9. If not, you can choose this way. So I'm debugging this. the file name which we gave as sample. So we'll select the sample now. We'll start debugging. Right? There is no errors, hence it has been executed. Quickly, let's give a number here. So I'm typing 25. The answer should be 5. 25, the square root of 25 is 5. Right. So if you could see, the square root of 25 is 5 is been printed. Right. This is how a Python console works in Pycharm. Now we shall see how are interpreters connected in Pycharm. Right. Majorly interpreters are used in order to verify whatever the code you write, is it correct or wrong according to the rules or library functions, right? So there's one more way to check installation of interpreters in Pycharm. You can use Python package index, that is pip install, right? You can use that and install it if you are running in Python console. If not, you can directly assign the interpreter. I'll show you how now. This is the Pycharm IDE. It is better to start with a new project in order to know the interpreter settings, right? So let's quickly go to the file menu and start a new project, right? See, here you can see the location. You can also see the location of the environment, and then also you can see the base interpreter. You will be having 2 or more options if you're having more than one interpreters here. You can select that and you can create the project, right? So if you want to continue in this window only, you can select this window. If you want it in a new window, it will create a new window if you choose new window option. So I'm taking this window itself. So it will create virtual environment accordingly, and the interpreter is set. This is how the new project Pycharm IDE will look like. Now we shall see how do you debug and put up breakpoints in Python code in Pycharm, right? So as of every programming language, whatever the code you type, you have 2 steps in order to get the output. One, you have to debug first, then you have to run the code. That is when you'll get the desired output. Right, let's quickly check in Pycharm IDE how do we put up a breakpoint and also how do we debug. Already I've opened a Python file here, right? A demo Python file. Here I'll be pasting a code where we are swapping the 2 numbers from one variable to another variable, right? So I was talking regarding debugging. To debug, we have to go to the run menu and we have to press on debug. If there is no errors, directly it will execute. I'm selecting the file. Right. The value is being interchanged, right? So A was 5 before and B was 10. In the output, you have got value of A as 10 and B as 5. Okay. So what about breakpoints? So let me quickly show you. It's in the same menu, that is run. You have to go to breakpoints and you have to enable. So wherever you want, you can just put up a breakpoint. What is the use of breakpoint? The reason is whenever the code is very long, right, lengthy codes, you have to put up breakpoints to break that into modules or subcodes, right? That is why you use breakpoints. You can paste your breakpoint anywhere you want on the line. If you want to take it out, again, you can press on the same breakpoint. It will be out of your code, right? If you miss any of the breakpoints, again, you can go to run and you can go to restore breakpoint. In toggle breakpoint option, if you restore, it will give you the first inserted breakpoint, right? So this is how debugging and breakpoint work in Pycharm. Now we shall see how to integrate the version control for Pycharm. That means if you want to do any integration of different softwares or different platform, different framework to Pycharm, you can do that. So you have an option to have the version control of them. Either you can connect Git, for example, the repositories, whatever the coding which you do simultaneously gets saved in Git repository as well. You can have that connect between the local system which is installed in your local drive or local computer, the Pycharm, and the cloud-based Git repository, right? You can have this connection by using integration of version control. So Pycharm is compatible with numerous of control systems or the frameworks or the elements which you want to use, plugins for the matter, right? Let's quickly check upon how does this version control work in Pycharm IDE. So here you have an option in the menu called VCS. If you click on that, the first option you get, the sub menu you get, is enable version control integration, and also many other menus are here. If you want to create a git, you can create a git. If you want to create a mercurial repository, you can do that also. If you want to import any versions, you can do that. And you have different, you can also share your project in GitHub by using this space, right? So first option, if you check, first you have to enable before creating anything. So you have an option to enable. So you choose which repository you want to use. Either it might be git or subversion or mercurial. So you have three options to do it. If you click on git, and you will be asked your git URL. If you quickly give your URL, it will be integrated. So that is how you can integrate the git repository in Pycharm. The next topic is HTML and CSS integration. In Pycharm, you also have option to integrate the HTML files or the code files which you are trying to write, right? So let's quickly see in an Pycharm editor how well it supports HTML and CSS, right? So let's quickly put up the code, some sample code in IDE. This is how the IDE looks like. And again, you have to go to file, right? After going to file, you can select new. Already there is a project, so I'm selecting new. Once you select, you will be asked which type of file you want to create. You can create HTML file. So give a name for that. Here I'm giving demo2, right? I'm clicking enter. Once that is done, already a sample skeleton of HTML will be visible. Any modification you want to do, you can do that. Right here, I'm naming this page as hi greetings, right? Any elements you want to add inside that, I'm using for sample p tag, and I'm trying to type one simple sentence. So if you want to execute, you will be having options here. Which one you can use, it's up to you. Either it can be Edge, or it can be Mozilla Firefox, or it can also be Google Chrome, right? I'm using Chrome now, right? So this is how it will display. The title which you gave for the file is hi greetings, it is there, and the content is I like coding. So this is how HTML and CSS can be integrated in Pycharm. Now we have come up to the last part of this video, that is summary. So we learned regarding what is an IDE, that is integrated development environment, and why do we use this IDE, what is the necessity of it, and different types of IDE which is available for Python, right? So apart from that, we also learned regarding Pycharm, especially what is Pycharm and how does it work. Also, we had different features illustrated. We had a overview walkthrough first. Later, we got into in-depth features of Pycharm. Name it. It can be keymaps and shortcuts, Omni, macros, micros, how to write a Python code, how to run the Python console on Pycharm first, and how to debug the elements of the code, or how to put up a breakpoints to the code which you do. All these things were discussed. Apart from that, we also knew about integration of version control. That means we can integrate the repositories which is available outside the Pycharm to Pycharm. Name it, it can be Git repository. Apart from that, we also had an option in order to work with HTML CSS in Pycharm. So we also went through a sample example of HTML as well. Right? This ends the video. We'll meet up in the next video. Thank you.
If you haven't subscribed for our channel yet, I would request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification bell so that you don't miss any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure you comment on this video. Any queries or suggestions, I'll be more than happy to respond to all of them.